time to awaken your senses to your global possibilities. This is the Chris Robinson Travel Show with your host, Charmin Yarnell, on CJAD 800.
Every day is a getaway when all of it goes unsaid. I got a holiday, a paid holiday. I got a holiday in my head.
Well, good morning and welcome to the Chris Robinson Travel Show. We are going to be hearing about a company today that gives you a wonderful range of touring possibilities. Wait till you hear what they have to offer. There are escorted motor tours, coach tours, river cruises to some of the world's most sought-after destinations. Such are the things dreams are made on. Today we're going to hear mainly about New Zealand and Australia. Now, who would not want to travel to those incredibly beautiful countries, and who wouldn't want to put themselves into the hands of a company who can see to it that you are comfortable, relaxed, entertained, and having the trip of your lifetime, one that you will never forget. You will make memories with APT, the experts in touring. And someone today is going to win a voucher for $2,000. That's $1,000 per person towards any APT tour of 7 nights or more to any destination that APT offers. And wait till you hear about the destinations that they go to. We're going to find out exactly what they are and about APT in just a moment and what those destinations are again. Because on the show to answer your calls are Nicole DeWilde. Nicole is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing for APT. Also, Jason Stratford, and he's Sales and Marketing Manager for North America for APT. Welcome both.
Good morning, Charmin. Thank you.
Hi there, Jason.
Hello, how are you doing?
We're doing great.
Excellent.
Wow, Chris, are you there too?
I am, and welcome back from Prince Edward Island.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my beautiful little paradise. Thank you. and talking about paradise,
oh, yes.
I'm New Zealand. New Zealand. First of all, what does APT stand for?
It stands for Australian Pacific Touring. The roots of our company, which actually goes back, I think it's 86 years now, were that we started doing tours in Australia in the 1920s, then moved also to doing tours in New Zealand, and now we offer touring really right around the world. And although we're focusing this morning particularly on New Zealand, we also do tours and predominantly luxury tours to places like Vietnam, Cambodia, South America, China. We're going into Burma for the first time next year. Canada and Alaska. We bring a lot of Australian people to Canada and Alaska, the US, Europe, and Africa. I think that's about the list.
Wow.
So far. Oh, we're going into India as well. So you name it, we go there, and we're a very well-known company in Australia. We're the market leader, but in North America, we're primarily known for our Australian and New Zealand tours.
But there's one thing that you do offer that really excites me. It's not just getting, I mean, some people like motor tours, coach tours, but there are so many different ways that you have of doing these tours. River cruises. I was looking at your website, by the way, wonderful website. Please check it out, aptouring.com. And you're offering so many different ways of doing these tours.
That's right. I mean, obviously, things like river cruising is very popular, and so in fact, probably one of the most popular ways now of going to Vietnam. That's becoming an incredibly popular destination. So, cruising down the Yangtze, obviously European river cruising, but even within our tours, one of the things that we like to do is to mix things up. So, for example, if you're doing a tour of New Zealand, you will be spending some time on the Transalpine train. So lots of different things. There are options of doing cruises within our tours, walking tours within our touring. So I think when you think about motor coach touring and think about the way that it used to be, you tended to feel a little bit like sheep, so sort of bringing in the New Zealand accent, when you're all herded around together. And it's really not like that anymore. You're taken certainly with a group of people. You've got experts with you that can tell you about the places that you're visiting, but there is so many choices of what you can do. And one of the things that's unique about APT, regardless of where you're traveling and how you're traveling with us in the world, is that you actually have something called freedom of choice sightseeing included. So what that means is that when you get to a number of destinations, you can actually choose what it is that interests you. You can choose to do that, and it's all included already in the price of the tour. So if, for example, you're in Queenstown with us on the South Island of New Zealand, you can perhaps go and see some of the scenes and the scenery of the Lord of the Rings.
I had two people ask me about that this morning.
Oh, really? Well,
Yes.
Jason is our Lord of the Rings expert, I have to tell you.
Okay.
But you can do that. You can do a jet boat ride. You can do a wine tour. You can do a forest and bird walk. Or you can have a massage. You know, the choices are so varied, which means you can really personalize your tour, and I think that makes it a very different experience.
It certainly sounds. Now, Jason, let's throw to you for a minute. Lord of the Rings, please. Would we get to see Bilbo's party tree?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I was there in December, and yes, you see the party tree. That's part of Hobbiton, which is a place. It's actually real. It's a farm that's about an hour and a quarter away from Rotorua in the North Island. So, and we include that as a freedom of choice option. So, I mean, you don't have to go there if you're not interested in Lord of the Rings at all. But it's funny, though, because even if you're not interested in those movie trilogies, it's still a stunning place to visit. It's a working farm. You've got your rolling hills, tons of sheep everywhere. There's a payoff at the end of the tour where you've got, at the Green Dragon pub, you can have a locally brewed beer and there's cider and so on. So it's a really good little option. But, they left all the sets up just like you're in the Hobbit movie itself. The first part of the Hobbit movie is exactly like you're in the movie. And I believe it's the only one in the world that is like that too.
Oh, I mean, that would be number one. Chris, what about you? That would be, well, wait a minute. Chris, have you been there?
I have indeed been there.
I was just about to say, Chris, would that be number one on your list? It would be number one on mine. And, of course, why do I bother with you?
It is a fabulous place. And as Jason said, the landscape there is so quintessentially New Zealand, and it's so, so beautiful that even if Hobbiton wasn't there, it would be worth going. But Hobbiton is there, and it is very well worth going. Go to Pinterest. I've got a new Pinterest board on New Zealand, Pinterest.com/travel show, and you'll see me in a hobbit hole.
Okay. Can we have the phrase, please, the winning phrase, Chris?
APT to New Zealand and more with premium tours. You have options galore.
And do check out aptouring.com. Now, we're going to take a quick break here. And remember, that winning phrase Chris just said is also on the Chris Robinson Travel Show Facebook page. So you've all got access to it. When we return, your calls on New Zealand, Australia, and APT. And I believe that it is that Michelle Boyer today?
The Chris Robinson Travel Show on CJAD 800.
Okay, that I think is a Haka war chant. I'm Charmin Yarnell. Great to wake up to on this Saturday morning, and today we're hearing all about music. What was that? We're hearing all about New Zealand and Australia with the company who knows about traveling. Both companies, be it by train, bus, plane, boat. And that, what I'm saying there is, that threw me, that war chant.
Yeah, well, that's what it's designed to do. That's exactly what it's designed to do. Well, how would you like to be on a rugby field facing a whole 15 guys doing that?
Turn around and take off in the opposite direction.
It obviously worked against, dare I say, Australia yesterday, Jason?
Yeah, I'd rather we don't talk about that, actually. Thank you very much.
I'm so sorry.
Now listen, someone out there is going to be winning a voucher for $2,000. That's $1,000 per person towards any APT tour of 7 nights or more to any destination that APT offers. And this is an absolutely extraordinary prize. It really is. Do check out the website, which is AP Touring, not APT Touring, aptouring.com. It'll give you an idea what they're up to. I have so many calls here, Chris. Let's start off once more with the phrase, the winning phrase.
APT to New Zealand and more. With premium tours, you have options galore.
Okay, let's go out to Robert Kelly.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Robert. Or what are you? Oh, okay, that's better.
That's better.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to...
What's your question, Robert?
Yes, you were speaking about New Zealand. I was wondering, what is the local cuisine and food? If we went to a local restaurant, what would they have?
I would have to say probably lamb, because New Zealand lamb is pretty amazing. I hope you're not a vegetarian, because...
What was that?
Other than that, kiwi fruit? I don't know.
I'm a vegetarian, Jason.
I'm vegan, so...
Oh, right on, girl. She's one step ahead of me. Good on you.
Don't worry, Jason. I'm with you. The lamb is fabulous.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, Robert?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's go. Okay,
There's actually some fantastic seafood in New Zealand too, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, the mussels, crayfish, and trout. Wow, for a trout fisherman too, it's pure heaven.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wouldn't necessarily associate that with New Zealand.
No, absolutely. I travelled to New Zealand with my old dad when I was a kid, and I think the main reason that he wanted to go to New Zealand was for the trout fishing. It is around Lake Taupo in North Island, New Zealand. Just amazing.
Okay,
That's true. The trout fishing is. I did that also with my father when I was a lad. Quite a way back now, but it's stunning for that. It really is. The trout fishing is amazing. There's also you were talking about mussels as well. There's a little town that's if you're driving between Blenheim and Nelson, there's a little town in there, and there's all these plastic mussels on the outside of the town. I think the name of the town is Hastings. I could be wrong, but. It's quite an interesting little spot. Very much is.
Plastic
There's so many lovely oddities in New Zealand. I
know, it's quite
we
bizarre.
share a similar kind of sense of humour, I think, Canadians and Kiwis. It's great.
And I think Kiwis are so friendly as well, and they're like Canadians. I think there is a great affinity between the two countries.
Well, you are so right, Nicole. That's why they appear in my top 10 list of friendly peoples of the world.
There you go.
Well, I tell you what, you're mentioning Kiwis, and Alison, hi Alison, you wanted to know why the locals are called Kiwis, am I correct? Alison? Well, why don't you answer the question anyway?
Yes, sorry. Hi, yes. Hello?
Oh, you are there, Alison.
Sorry, yes, I'd like to know why the locals are called Kiwis.
Okay. Chris, do you know this? This tends to be yours. I mean, obviously the kiwi is the bird.
Well, it is absolutely. It's after the national symbol of New Zealand, which is this ridiculous bird. I mean, it seems to me that New Zealand, I mean, with no offence to New Zealanders, but
no offence to the bird.
It seems to me that New Zealand, more than any other place on the planet, goes in for these absurd birds. I mean, kiwis. What?
Tell you what, we're gonna get drop Alice in there. I don't know what that was about. I think it was a little kid on the phone. Please tell me about the kiwis.
Kiwis are these
here as well, kind of little. Like to hear what the kiwi.
Do you want to know what a kiwi sounds like?
All right.
I hope this works.
Go on. Wow.
He's laughing. He's laughing.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, our new brochure that is coming out this fall actually has a picture of a kiwi on the front. And his name is George, by the way.
George the kiwi. I think the New Zealanders have a wonderful sense of humour. This just points to that.
But so do the birds. There is another bird called a kea, K-E-A, which is, get this, it's an alpine parrot. There's a contradiction in terms, if ever you heard one. There's this huge, chunky bird that if you go to one of the mountain passes in South Island and leave your car unattended for a moment, it will be on the top of your car, plucking off your windscreen wipers, because it likes to fly off with windscreen wipers.
One suspects then that is what happened to you, Chris?
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
It's a
And
rental
I
car.
think it was perhaps because New Zealand was actually, it was quite remote.
Yes.
And not settled as such until sort of relatively late, as it were. I think it was the Polynesians that first settled there. And so it does have all this amazing diversity of wildlife and as we've said, fabulous scenery. So
Okay, let's go to Joel here. Joel, hi.
Hi.
What's your question, Joel?
Yeah, you played the All Black team song, right? If I'm not mistaken.
The what?
The All Blacks, the New Zealand
Well,
rugby.
it was the Maori haka chant that they do prior to every rugby game. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I think the team name is the All Blacks. So anyway, I was just wondering if you could hook me up on a good place to go and watch the team play and have a good beer at the same time, like a pub or something like that.
Jason?
yeah, I was going to say Jason.
Yeah, that's true. Except I think you said pub at the end. So you mean while you're in Canada or when you're in?
No. Over there, where I would like to go and see the game directly, but I don't think it's that easy.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you're in New Zealand, there's all the big cities have rugby games. So Auckland, Christchurch, Wellington, all over the place. So you can actually see a game very easily. And then if you're not actually at the game, any of the pubs will show the games as well. So yeah, no problems at all. So either the local league or you can see international games as well because they're often on during the year as well.
Okay, Joel?
Thank
you. Thank you very much. And let's pop down here to Vivienne. Hello, Vivienne.
Yes, good morning.
Hi.
Hi. I'm going to forget my original question. I'm just thinking, when you're going to APT, New Zealand, you have the tours also in Australia, I presume.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Now, can I do just one part in New Zealand and not do if I go to Australia, just do it on my own?
Basically, you've got a wide variety of choices. You can choose just to do the North Island in New Zealand or just to do the South Island. For example, if you're tight on time, my recommendation would be, if you've got the time, obviously, to do both of them. A nice combination would be to do them combined with perhaps an East Coast tour of Australia. So maybe taking in that Sydney to Cairns tour, but you can do anything in a combination that you would like to do. So, for example, you might want to take a tour of New Zealand and then add on a few days to do hiking, or you might want to take a tour of New Zealand and then pop over and just spend a few days in Sydney. All of those things are available to do in conjunction with a tour, and my advice is always to go and see your local travel consultant.
Right.
Go into a travel agency, somebody that really knows this part of the world, and they can really advise you on what to do is the best combination of things to do to maximize your time, because it's about a 20-hour flight.
Wow.
From the eastern Canada, and so you're going to take quite a long time to get there. It's going to cost you a little bit of money. You are going to want to maximize your time. And I think one of the great things about taking a tour, for at least part of it, is that you get to see a lot in a relatively short space of time. With APT, you've got lots of choices of what you do, even while you're on that tour, as I mentioned earlier. But go sit down with somebody and really plan it, because you don't want to find that you've missed out on something when you've come back.
Okay, now I tell you what, we're going to take a quick break here, but coming up, though, we're going to get to your emails. We'll have more questions on New Zealand and Australia and APT. Time now for CJAD 800 News headlines with Luciano Pipia.
The Chris Robinson Travel Show on CJAD 800.
Jason, that's for you and me.
Oh, I love it.
Welcome back.
Love it.
Isn't it gorgeous?
Amazing. I once spent a whole trip of just driving around with that music in the background, looking at all the scenery of Lord of the Rings in New Zealand. It's just amazing. But it's better if someone can take you like APT.
I'm about to start crying.
I know.
Oh, Jason, it's just, anyway. Oh, this is a Chris Robinson travel show, obviously, and someone out there is going to win a voucher for $2,000. That's $1,000 per person towards any APT tour of 7 nights or more to any destination that APT offers. You know, if you're planning a trip to New Zealand, Australia, this is a trip of a lifetime, or any of the other destinations APT offers. This is the prize for you. Chris, can we have that phrase again?
APT to New Zealand and more with premium tours. You have options galore.
And that galore, and I bet you have emails galore.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And of course that winning phrase is also on Facebook, so it's always posted on there. And if you're on Facebook, don't forget to enter the competition for a week's holiday with couples. That is going to be running for the next 4 weeks or so, 3 or 4 weeks. So get on in there and don't miss out on that. Just as we were going to the break, and just before I come to the first email, Nicole, you were talking about trips to Australia as well. And I noticed on the aptouring.com website a wonderful tour to a part of Australia that is very close to my heart, Tasmania.
Yes.
It's a beautiful part of the world. It's another of Jason's favourites, so I'll let him talk a little bit more about it. But I know you've been there as well, Chris, and really enjoyed it.
It's very special.
But we've got a lot of options to see Tasmania. You can see the whole thing in 12 days. You can do a little bit less. You can even do a short 4-day trip down there. But there are, again, some very spectacular things to see there. Jason, you were there not that long ago. Tell us a little bit more, if you would.
Yeah, it's pretty stunning. I mean, it's a little similar to New Zealand, actually, in the way it looks. The terrain is quite similar. There's wonderful hiking, and which you can do as part of our touring. Place called Wineglass Bay, just a stunning location. It's just a little tiny walk, very easy to do, and you get this amazing view over. It looks like a wine glass, basically. That's why it's called that way. Stunning beach. Cradle Mountain's an amazing place. You've got Port Arthur, the convict history there.
That's a very moving historical site.
Quite haunting, actually. I was a little bit scared, actually. I thought somebody was going to jump out at me.
I did the ghost walk there. It's very atmospheric.
Oh, what fun.
Wow. I mean, yeah, the place is amazing. You know, I was just thinking through this. There's something that we do with our departure dates as well for Tasmania, that we've based them for this season around arriving in Hobart for the Salamanca markets, which are on a Saturday. So I think that's such a great idea, because it's just a little added extra that you get when you go on our tour. You can actually be there on a Saturday, because there's fantastic markets right downtown Hobart, all stunning crafts and foods and so on. And it only happens on a Saturday, but we've based the departure so that you do actually arrive in Hobart on a Saturday. So I think it's a great thing to do.
That's a nice touch, and that's typical of the touches of APT. I think you think these things through. Yeah.
Well, that's what makes the difference, I think, between a good tour and a great experience. Yeah. And one of the things that we have as I suppose our mantra is, we want to delight our customer. We want everybody to be delighted with their tour, and making sure that those little touches are in there makes all of the difference.
Yeah. Well, an email then from Dale in Laval, who wants to know about APT's Value Plus touring.
Great. Well, Value Plus is operated by our sister company, a company called Travel Marvel, and where APT is 4.5 5-star properties, then our Value Plus touring will be 3.5 4-star. So a little bit less expensive. It's probably about, if you're looking at tours of New Zealand, it's probably about a third less in terms of overall money. Not quite as much included. You've still got all of your basic sightseeing included. It has a little bit more free time because you don't have all of the choices with the freedom of choice touring that I've been talking about with APT. So it's great value for money, comfortable accommodation, still lots of things included, but not quite as much as the APT luxury tours.
I love it. It's nice to have that choice. Colette.
Yeah.
Colette from Pierre France has actually got two questions in one, really. She wants to know, is there a historical place that you can go to in New Zealand, and how do you get from North Island to South Island in New Zealand?
Hey,
Jason. We'll do the second question first. The Inter-Islander ferry is the best way, I think, to do the trip across from the North Island to the South Island. Takes a couple of hours. Beautiful scenery. Through the Queen Charlotte Islands, actually, they're called. The same as in up this way in Canada as well. The same name. The Queen Charlotte Sound. Beautiful scenery through there. For the first question was about history, a historical site. Is that what it was?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at, I would say probably Waitangi, right up by the Bay of Islands. I mean, where the Polynesian people, the Maori people, and the English came together and decided, yes, we're going to be friends, basically, and we joined together. And,
more or less.
Yeah, pretty much, more or less, exactly.
Apart from on the rugby field.
Yeah, exactly. A place called Waitangi. You can actually go see where that happened. That's also why New Zealand's National Day is called Waitangi Day, because it's named after that place where that occurred. So that's at the top of the North Island. I think for history, though, for culture and everything else, I actually like the museum in Wellington, Te Papa. On our touring, there is time for that, to see Te Papa. It's just a stunning museum. It's about 4 or 5 levels high. You could spend all day there. It's a really great place. It's got different levels, and it talks about the culture. It talks about the local people and so on, and the land itself. It's a great place. So I would say that for me is my favourite place. Actually, it's one of the best museums I've ever been to anywhere. So there you are.
And it's brand new, really, isn't it? It's only been open for a few years.
Yeah, I think probably about 10, 15 years. They're always modifying it, and they always bring in new things every year, new displays every year to keep it fresh. Open late on a Thursday night. Little tip there as well. So if you're short on time as well.
Great, that's the way to do it. And Waitangi, I love. I've got actually several pictures of that on the Pinterest board for New Zealand, because I really like Waitangi. Again, you get a real sense of place and history, and it's great to see vibrant Maori culture as well. And that's part of the experience for me of a visit to New Zealand, is very much to see this what these people, the Maori, who are still about 15% or so of the population, I think, of New Zealand.
Yeah, exactly. And fabulous rugby players too. Unfortunately, being Australian, I had to say that.
I'm not going to get over this.
They're a little too good.
What was the score? New Zealand, Australia. What was the score again?
Don't do that to him. Nice and Zen, Jason. Lord of the Rings, okay? Lord of the Rings, okay.
Yes, that makes me feel much more calm.
I'm on your side. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to quickly say to Rotorua as well. I mean, that really is the centre for the Maori culture as well, and that's where you can have your Polynesian evenings where they put on the dances, and you can have the food that's cooked underneath the ground, all of that kind of stuff, the hangis, but also all the thermal activity too, and see all the mud pools, and all of that is in Rotorua too. I mean, that's like the center of the universe, Rotorua. There's so much to do, including zorbing and seeing Hobbiton, and lots of things to do in Rotorua.
Okay, let's just take a call here, because we have a lot of Quebecers who like to do this. Barbara.
Yes.
Barbara.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm very interested in what the golfing situation is like in New Zealand. I understand one of your players is currently playing in Edmonton, the Canadian Open, the Ladies Open, and she's only 16. She won it last year.
Where to golf? And Barbara, I'm going to golf. Yeah, I'm going to hang up on you because we've got a terrible echo here, and our guests will answer that.
Yeah, no problems. I mean, we're an escorted touring company, and we don't actually have golfing, although we do have a golfing freedom of choice option outside of Rotorua, actually. So there is that is something that you can do on our tours. The best known one is in the North Island, and the name has just escaped me. I should probably Google it.
I tell you what,
I've heard it's one of the best courses anywhere.
Okay, Jason, you know what? We're going to take a quick break here, and during that time, maybe you can Google it. And
I'm doing it now.
Okay, we'll get right back to you. Okay, we're going to head over to the CJAD 800 Traffic Center for a look at the Montreal Drive with Michelle Boyer.
The Chris Robinson Travel Show on CJAD 800.
Welcome back to the Chris Robinson Travel Show. And that is Kiri Tikinawa, of course, a famous New Zealand opera singer. I think, did she not sing for Prince Charles's first wedding to Diana? I believe she did.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I think
she did, I'm sure.
Mm.
Oh, what a beautiful sound.
She's a New Zealand national icon, rather like the Kiwi.
After what you were saying about the Kiwi, I'm not too sure that was a good... Can I ask you, one of my favorite films, all-time films, was Whale Rider. Was that filmed in or near New Zealand?
Yes, absolutely. Love that. I love that movie. It's amazing.
Yeah.
North Island, just north of Gisborne, actually.
Yeah.
That was the location. It's a stunning location, isn't it?
You
really
know,
good.
it's
Great story
something...
too.
Yeah, quite interesting. I remember speaking to some Japanese people at one stage and saying, when the Lost Samurai came out, that movie, which you may remember, and saying, really, you should think about promoting Japan and this. And they said, it was filmed in New Zealand.
Was it really?
Exactly.
Oh, my goodness.
And that one was by New Plymouth. I know where all they were all filmed.
Yeah, Jason, you and I would get on very well.
I know.
Chris, can we just have that winning phrase one more time, please?
Yeah, last time, so do make sure you write this down or see it on Facebook. But here it is. APT to New Zealand and more with premium tours. You have options galore.
And your lucky winner will get a $2,000, that's $1,000 per person towards any APT tour of 7 nights or more. And that is to any destination that APT offers. Check out aptouring.com, because I know we're talking mainly about New Zealand today. We've touched on Australia. It goes to so many different places. Another email, Chris.
Sure. Tina from Montreal wants to, and this is going to be a difficult one, so Nicole, Jason, I don't know how you want to take this, but wants to know, what are the highlights of the AP tour to New Zealand?
There's so many. Jason, choose one.
That's a way to do it.
I mean, for me, I would say Queenstown, and the Transalpine train. Jason, what do you think?
I agree with that, but I love Wellington, the Windy City it's called. It's a little jewel of a place. Do I only have one? Oh, no, it was highlights, wasn't it? So, of course, Tongariro as well. Our touring goes right through, some of our tours goes right through the middle of the North Island. The place that doesn't get talked about very often is Tongariro, and that's where Mordor is in Lord of the Rings. It looks like another world completely. It's like you're driving through the moon.
Oh, yeah. I am so sold.
Like it's bizarre. So, I mean, that is quite... I just love that place. It's fantastic. What else? Dunedin, Scottish town. It's got a lot of Scottish heritage.
I stayed in Larnock Castle in Dunedin. A wonderful place.
It is. A beautiful place.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you can see albatrosses.
Colony down there as well. It's like one of the only albatross colonies.
It's fabulous. It's about the only accessible
one. And that's on our touring as well. So, I mean, look, there's so much.
Can I have one too?
Yes, please.
My I don't know if it's my favourite spot. You've got so many on that tour, but Milford Sound is just...
Of course, yes. How do we miss that?
This is in Fiordland, in the bottom left-hand corner of South Island, New Zealand, and it is just literally breathtaking. I
think sometimes we forget the most iconic places. We just think, everybody knows where it is. Just forget to mention it. But yeah, that is the place where you'll see the photos of New Zealand with amazing lakes in front of the peaks, and you can go on a little boat ride, and it's a stunning location.
And just go on to aptouring.com. You will see pictures of all of these places that they're talking about. Chris, can we have another? Let me take one more call here. Is that okay with you? Let us go to let's go to Barbara. Hello, Barbara.
Hi. Good morning. I haven't been to the website yet. I'm saving that for dessert after the show. But the reason for my call is for someone traveling alone. Is this a good option?
Yes. Very much so, actually. With our touring, what we do is we offer a share twin option. So, in other words, if you want to travel and you're on your own, you can actually pair up with someone of the same sex.
Oh, wonderful!
And you just pay the share twin cost as well, so you don't have to pay a single supplement or anything like that. You do actually, and you could also end up with your own single room. But the beauty of this is that we do tend to attract more singles because we have that option, so that you wouldn't be the only single person on the coach. Plus, with all the freedom of choice options as well, you can sort of, if you make a friend or whatever, you can decide, hey, we're going to go off with this friend and do one of those freedom of choice options together. You can tweak it to your own taste, if you like. So I mean, it's brilliant, and New Zealand is so safe, it's so friendly, great place to be. I always travel on my own. I love it. I think it's great, and when you've got your freedom of choice options like you have with us, I mean, you can make it your own trip.
Okay, the single supplements make so much of the travel prohibitive, but the option you're offering is very appealing.
And of course, if we don't get somebody, Barbara, to match up with you, then, as Jason said, you don't have to pay the single supplement.
That's terrific.
Well, that is terrific.
Yeah. And remember, you're traveling with a group of people. My experience is that, nobody ever gets left out. You've always got friends there with you, whether you've got somebody to share a room with or not. And I think it's the perfect way to go. And I think people make lifelong friendships doing these sorts of tours.
Well, there is our dial tone. And I think we've said the winning phrase enough times, Chris.
I hope so. We want them to get it right.
Just answer with the phrase, no hello.
APT to New Zealand and more with premium tours. You have options galore.
That would be Vivian. Excellent, Vivian.
Goodness, I thought I was going to have a heart attack there.
I'm so nervous. I don't.
That was great.
Oh, great.
Vivian, that pause that you took?
Yes.
Well, we were holding our breath. Don't do that to
I was
us.
reading and I don't have my glasses on. That's why.
Okay, I understand. Oh, traumatized me, though, for the morning.
Oh, my goodness.
Vivian.
It's a place I've always wanted to go. So
Well, now you have got this wonderful prize. It's a voucher for $2,000. That's $1,000 per person towards any APT tour of 7 nights or more. And that is to any destination that APT offers.
But make it New Zealand.
Oh, make it New Zealand, please. Please, and send some pictures, right, Chris?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we'll put them on the winners board. You bet.
Definitely, I will.
Okay,
Thank you.
Vivian.
You stay on the line.
Congratulations.
We'll be in touch with you, okay?
Thank you.
Well, Jason, Nicole, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. It's been fun.
It's been wonderful. Right. Jason, I mean, your heart and soul into New Zealand, even though you're an Aussie, really, rather than a Kiwi.
I know, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
But that was terrific. And Nicole, it's not your first time on the show. It won't be your last time. It's so lovely to have you on the show. We have known each other, Charmin, for a long time in the travel industry.
Long time.
So it's always great fun to have Nicole on the show.
Well, maybe one day we'll get her into the studio here, all of us together to do it. That would be, and I tell you, both you and Jason have painted such a beautiful picture of New Zealand. I am dying to go. Absolutely dying.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.
Now, Chris, listeners can go on to the Chris Robinson Travel Show website. They can take a look at everything we've talked about today, onto your Pinterest board.
Yes, so you can see all the pictures of everything that we've been talking about, really, from Hobbiton to Waitangi, the history, and also some of the wonderful soft adventure things that you can do in New Zealand that we didn't even talk about. But there's so much you can do. It's great. So do have a look at the Pinterest board. Go to Facebook. Do enter the couples competition for a week's all-inclusive at a couples resort. You don't want to miss out on your chance for that.
And what are we up to next week?
You have to go to the website. This is where we post all of next week's exciting destinations or topics. So go to chrisrobinsontravelshow.com and you'll see what we are about next week.
And that is it for this week's edition of the Chris Robinson Travel Show. Coming up, Viewpoint with Todd Vanderhayden. News is coming up also on CJAD 800.